I'm Katie Plucker.
I'm Kimberly Wall.
I'm Kelsey Goodson.
And we're for English Only Education.
Hi, I'm Megan Locker.
I'm Taylor Shuck.
And I'm Samantha Wojcik.
And we're for Bilingual Education.
This is the English Only opening statement.
English Only Education is a form of education in which English-speaking students and non-English-speaking students are placed in the same classroom. All instruction is taught in the English language and allows for total immersion for non-English speakers. There are additionally pull-out services for English language learners to better accommodate them.
We believe that the English-only model is the accessible and realistic means of assimilating a student into the English language. The English-only model has helped millions of students to succeed over the past 100 years and remains the most seamless way of integrating the student into the school environment. English-only education thrusts a new student into the English language by allowing them to observe English and to acquire it through set observations coupled with supports outside the classroom. It is by far the most tried and true method for English language learners.
We believe English-only education is more economically sound than bilingual education because it relieves the need to purchase instructional materials in a second language. It also negates the hiring of new bilingual teachers. The English-only model easily accommodates multiple languages, which is implausible in a bilingual education system. This model is easier to maintain because of pull-out services. Due to these reasons, English-only education is the most effective and beneficial method for English language students.
This is the Bilingual Education opening statement.
Bilingual education is a form of education in which information is presented to the students in 2 or more languages. Technically, any educational system that utilizes more than one language is bilingual. This means that many, if not most, school programs are bilingual, in at least a literal sense of the word.
When bilingual education is implemented, students grow more proficient in English gradually instead of being thrown into learning a new language.
There are 3 different ways that bilingual education can be implemented: transitional, immersion, and developmental.
When ELL students are taught through a transitional bilingual education, it offers students some instruction in their native language while simultaneously providing concentrated English language instruction. It makes a transition from transitional bilingual programs to mainstream English programs within a few years. The students' overall academic performance increases even when they are no longer taught in their native language.
When students are taught through immersion, teachers generally use simple language that is tailored to let students absorb English while learning academic subjects.
Developmental bilingual education attempts to build on students' skills in their native languages as they learn English as a second language.
Using any of these 3 methods, children grow more proficient in English. They learn subjects using more contextualized language, like math and science, in sheltered classes taught in English, and eventually in mainstream classes. In this way, the sheltered classes function as a bridge between instruction in the first language and in the mainstream.
Research has proven that bilingual education keeps and maintains the student's culture and language. It also promotes brain growth in the area responsible for spatial navigation and learning new material.
Not only do the ELL students benefit from bilingual education, but other students in the class can learn more about another culture and language and be more culturally aware.
We believe that because of these reasons, bilingual education is the most effective and beneficial method for English language students.
This is the English Only cross-examination. Do you think bilingual education is a reality with the funding that schools get?
Well, we believe the benefits outweigh the costs for the students' education.
We also feel that students who are in bilingual programs have a more culturally diverse background. After they leave, they'll understand both their own culture and the English culture after they graduate.
I think they're more comfortable in the classroom talking in their native language instead of the pressure of English only.
Okay. And it could also help the English only students learn a different language if they're in a bilingual classroom.
Okay, so I understand that you're for bilingual education, but you didn't really talk about the funding part. So with the budgeting, do you think we'll necessarily be able to accommodate the educational and bilingual education for those students, like the teachers and also the like textbooks and all of that?
Well, I feel like since we feel that the benefits outweigh the costs, then we need to find some more room for different funding and send teachers to learn a new language.
We also need to fundraise a lot.
Do you think having teachers learn a new language alongside the students benefits the teachers as well?
Yes.
Definitely, yeah.
Why?
Because they will have this knowledge of another language and they can teach other students throughout the years and not just that one year.
But doesn't educating the teacher come at a cost as well?
Yes, but again, the benefits outweigh the cost, we believe, for the students' education.
So if funding becomes a problem, what would you do to keep bilingual education in your school system?
Well, we could try things like cutting the salaries of administrators because they do get a lot of money. We wouldn't want to cut like any of our programs out like gym or art or music, but we can cut expenses in other places outside of the actual school, like in the district.
Do you think that would lead to teachers quitting their jobs, going to other places?
No, only because we'd be cutting administrators' salaries, not actual teachers.
Okay. Because bilingualism in the United States is often indexed with immigration, the term bilingual child may imply poor or uneducated.
Using this bilingual program, I believe that we can get rid of this because the students will become more well-rounded and learn English better than being in an English-only setting.
During this time in America, like knowing more languages is like more of a skill than a negative thing for people to have. So I feel like having bilingual classrooms, it would be like the opposite. It would make students more educated and more cultured
Mm-hmm.
and like not poor.
Okay.
And there's no official language in the United States.
Okay. Do you think in a bilingual educational system, the children will become lazy or be resistant to learn the English language when they're going to be taught in their native language?
Well, I think the bilingual education, you have like the native language only a part of the day, and they teach English in another part of the day. So it's not like a full
Yeah.
native.
So like their core classes like math and English would be taught more in their native language, while things like social studies and science would be more taught in English.
So it's a more gradual process of the students learning English. So they.
It helps them learn the content better when it's in their native language, and also if they're learning English later in the day, then it also will help them learn English.
Do you think during the time that they're learning like subjects in English that they're not going to have their full focus during that time because it's not spoken in their language, so they're going to feel as if it's not as important?
Well, some students might, but I feel like a lot of students really just want to learn. So if they're in a class that's only in English, I feel like some students might be more willing to like
Try hard in that subject.
Yes. This is the bilingual education cross-examination. Do you think students will fall behind if they're still learning another language?
I don't think they're going to fall behind because we're not going to leave them behind. Accommodations are going to be made for them so they can go at their own pace. And there's also pull-out services that will help them learn the language as well.
Pull-out services are very important with English education. So the student, if they have any confusion, they can ask their bilingual teacher when they get pulled out.
There's only so much help that in-class teacher can provide in the classroom environment, so I think those pull-out services are really beneficial and that they fine-tune the English language for that student and help them hone the language that they're learning versus throwing them into a variety of subjects where they don't have a grasp on it.
But do you think when they do get pulled out that they're missing information in the other classroom?
They can be missing information in the other classroom, but it's more important at that point for them to have a good grasp on English versus sitting in these other classes that they wouldn't be able to understand.
And also during small group instruction, the teacher can pull that student aside and kind of catch them up on what they did miss during the pull-out services and kind of catch them up.
What if there's still like a big like language barrier there for the in-classroom teacher and the student?
Well, if there's an English barrier, the classroom teacher could go to the pull-out teacher and just figure out what there is a confusion on with the child. So it could be like a conference almost.
And ask them how they could help the child understand the English language. It's more like actions to help them understand or pictures. So that could make it easier for the child to understand the language.
And that way it's more beneficial because you have two teachers working for that child versus one teacher.
So in an English-only classroom, students usually sink or swim. How would you deal with students who are sinking as opposed to swimming?
There would definitely be collaboration with the support teacher, as mentioned, and there'd also have to be collaboration with the parents to try to get them involved in that child's education and make sure that they're always practicing English and motivated to learn the language, which is really important as well.
We also have after-school tutoring programs that the students can come to if they have any trouble in any subject. And our bilingual teacher will also be there.
And the students that are sinking rather than swimming, you pay more attention to them and your focus is more on them because they need the extra help. So that's when more accommodations come in and more one-on-one time.
But don't you think it's more expensive to have like the afternoon tutoring services?
I don't think it's as expensive as the bilingual education system would be because that requires buying the staffing, bilingual teachers, as well as purchasing materials in a second language, which textbooks are already expensive as it is. So adding another language into a textbook could also be more costly. So that compared to a tutoring program is not comparable. And the tutoring program could be volunteers, teachers that want to help as well. So that would be at no cost.
Also, the bilingual education is all day long. It's like an 8-hour period time versus the tutoring session, which may only be an hour or 2 hours. So that's funding for 2 hours versus 8 hours. So
a lot of students also swim instead of sink. Given the fact that they have to do one or the other, human nature dictates that they're going to be more likely to try to succeed than fail.
What would you do about students who are maybe just very resistant to learning English? Like they just do not want to learn a new language. They want to stick with their own language and their own culture.
well, we don't necessarily have to talk in their language, but we could definitely bring their culture into the classroom and have all the students associate with it, like putting cultural books in the reading section or doing like cultural projects or having the parents come into the classroom would also be very beneficial to the student.
And that's more of an individual situation. So even in a bilingual education system, that is still part of the problem for that child. So it's more like individualized because in a bilingual program, if that child is still resistant to learn English during the half of the time during a bilingual class, they're still not going to pay attention to the English. So it doesn't matter which program they're in. That's just an individual child case that you have to take into consideration and have to work with the parents.
Many ELL students go through a silent period. As a teacher, how would you deal with the silent period?
Well, to start off, you have to make sure the environment's very welcoming for the student. So if they do start going through that silent period, which most students do, you have to be make sure they're comfortable with you and the students. So
like Kim said, it's common that ELL students do go through a silent period, but you have to make sure you do not pressure them into like answering questions because that's going to put them outside their comfort zone and resist learning the language. So you just have to make sure to not pressure them and make them feel comfortable. So when they are ready, they usually tell you, you don't tell them. So they come out speaking English pretty well and comfortably.
The silent period also lends itself to English only classrooms, and that's the period where they're observing, listening, and they're absorbing the greatest amount of information during that period. So it's really good to have them exposed to the English language constantly.
This is the English only closing statement.
Overall, I feel that English only has more pros than cons versus bilingual education. The English only model is the accessible and realistic means of assimilating a student into the English language. The English only model has helped millions of students to succeed over the past 100 years and remains the most seamless way of integrating the students into the learning environment. It is also by far the most tried and true method for English language learners. English only education is way more economically sound than bilingual education because it relieves the need to purchase instructional materials in a second language. It also negates the hiring of new bilingual teachers, which can be very costly. The English only model easily accommodates multiple languages, which is implausible in a bilingual education system. This method or model is easier to maintain because of pull-out services. Due to these reasons, English-only education is the most effective and beneficial method for English language students.
Given modern realities, even though bilingual education is a very nice idea, it is mostly just an idea and impossible to implement given the economy and current structure of our educational system. Because of this, English only is a feasible reality and is capable of being implemented on a daily basis within classrooms across the nation.
This is the bilingual education closing statement.
Bilingual education continues to receive a lot of criticism. When schools provide children quality education in their primary language, they give them two things: knowledge and literacy. The knowledge that children get through their first language helps make the English they hear and read more comprehensible. Overall, bilingual education has done well, but it can do much better. We feel that one of the biggest problems is the absence of books in both the first and second languages in the lives of students in these programs. Limited English proficient Spanish speaking children have little access to books at home or at school. Free voluntary reading can help all components of bilingual education because it can be a source of comprehensible input in English or it can be a means for developing knowledge and literacy through the first language and for continuing first language development. Though bilingual education can be costly, we feel that the benefits definitely outweigh the costs because it provides students with lifelong benefits. When ELL students are taught through transitional bilingual education, it offers students some instruction in their native language while simultaneously providing concentrated English language instruction. It makes a transition from transitional bilingual programs to mainstream English programs within a few years. The students' overall academic performance increases even when they are no longer taught in their native language.
When bilingual education is implemented, students grow more proficient in English gradually instead of being thrown into learning a new language.